Excellent. Okay. My name's Hashem. I'm the founder of Inspection Manager, and I'm not coming here to you today as just the founder of Inspection Manager, but as a business owner that uses tech in our business to sit there and help provide a much better and more exceptional experience for the end user, which is a lot of times Inspection Manager customers. Can I see a show of hands of how many people in the room use Inspection Manager? Great, fantastic. One of the things that you need to think about as property managers, and it's part of the reason why you're here today, is to always sit there and ensure that you stay ahead of the time. So to always be on the forefront of the latest piece of technology out there, to get a better understanding of the way to do things on a daily basis, and to overall just improve your lab time. So the way that we use things in our own business is to always sit there and improve the way that we do things and constantly improve the circuit. So whether you're scheduling routines and completing that process, following up on arrears, maintenance requests, to constantly find a way to improve the time in which you take to complete that process. So let me give you a snapshot into our own business. We use a number of different programs that help us run our business. So our version of your trust accounting is Salesforce. That's always going to be the piece of software that is going to have the most accurate information. When you look at the main piece of software that you use within your organization, it's important to try and work with partners that integrate with a number of different players. There's nothing worse than the way that you double handle data. So you might put things in REST or Property Tree, Property Me, Release, the whole number of different programs, and you have to go and copy that information in a whole number of other ones. In our organization, we use Salesforce, and all our programs essentially talk to Salesforce. So before we got to using those lists of programs, we had a whole graveyard of programs, the ones that we no longer sit there and use for a number of reasons. And does anyone find it a bit strange that we put Outlook on there? Who here uses Outlook on a daily basis? Everyone, right? So you would probably think, why would we sit there and put Outlook? Well, that's kind of because we've just kind of been conditioned. We thought, well, that's the only way that we know how to do things, right? Oh, just, email. Let's get a snapshot of something and just email everyone and hope that, the 5 people that get the email, one person even acknowledges it, and the other 4, you don't even know if they've read it or not. And that starts to cause an issue. So we stopped using Outlook probably about 4 years ago, and we haven't looked back since. And I'll tell you what the solution is in just a moment. But just to give you a bit of a snapshot on Inspection Manager, sometimes I do this presentation and people don't even know who we are, so certain states that we go to. So this is a bit more about our business.
Inspection Manager is not just an app. It's a system designed to take the hassle out of scheduling, organising, completing, and finalising your routine inspections and property condition reports. Since our launch in 2012, we've been at the forefront of innovation in inspections, delivering industry-first features like predictive phrasing, last inspection data, and mail merge functionality. It all started in 2011 as an idea from Inside IT, an IT company supporting real estate offices. From a tiny corner in the Inside IT office, sharing staff between the two companies, Inspection Manager blossomed into its own business. We brought on our own full-time staff, hired an in-house development team, trialled new systems and new technology. In 2015, we designed our app and built it again from the ground up. In 2016, we moved our office to a new location that better reflects who we are. We put up monitoring systems to flag issues for our clients before they happen. We now have over 2,100 offices using Inspection Manager, with 8,000 active users. Over the years, we've trialled countless systems and pieces of technology to get to where we are today.
So we've got a team of about 25 in our office, plus we've also got a number of different offices across the globe. And one of the biggest issues that you tend to find with trying to sit there and run different operations in different states is everyone kind of working in cohesion together. And one of the biggest challenges that you tend to face is if you haven't adopted tech correctly. So Outlook would never work for our organisation because you just don't get the level of transparency in the feedback that you need. I'm going to run you through just a few different scenarios when you've got too much tech, and I'm going to show you this one screen, and a lot of you would probably recognise at least 80% of the programs on this particular screen. This is what the rental process looks like. You've got steps 1 to 10 from the moment someone looks for a property and then all the way through to them moving out. And can you see how crowded it's getting? See, we started doing this probably about 8 years ago. And back then, there weren't as many apps. But now everyone's gone and built an app and trying to sit there and monetize it and trying to sell it to you. And, oh, it does this part, this feature. But I'm quite certain that that starts to become a hindrance in the organization, because if a new person starts, all of a sudden you've got 10 different programs you have to train them on. And remember when I talked to you about the source of truth, your trust accounting, if that doesn't talk to some of those, then you've got double handling of data. So that could most certainly be a hindrance. It looks great that we could potentially use one form and then inspection manager, then property inspection manager or maintenance manager. And I'm even putting us in that category, but where we're doing something about it. And, it's right in line with where 2019 is heading. We're seeing more people move to much larger systems that do a lot more than individual systems. That could most certainly be a hindrance. Systems not integrating one another, I just touched on that. So here's a perfect example, right? So you've got all these programs right now. That particular process, from the moment that they sign a lease all the way to them moving out, that needs to be a really cohesive, integrated system that talks to one another. If you do use individual apps, they should be communicating with one another. If you don't, it does create additional delays and minimises the attempt of you constantly trying to improve your lap time, because you're stuck with the restraints of those programs. So then we also got complex systems for simple tasks, and this is us using Outlook, right? When I tried to implement it, and we've got 50 staff across 4 countries, the pushback I got, what do you mean you can no longer email each other? Well, you can't. You now have to use this program. Oh, no. Oh, you know what? We'll send it on MSN, or we'll send it on Link, which is an equivalent chat program. I was like, no, guys, look, I really believe in this product and I really want you to try it. And I'm going to shut down our internal communication of email. I'm going to force you guys for 1 week. And if you don't like it, we'll turn it back on. So we adopted a new program called Slack. Now, Slack is actually used so if we had a listing presentation that we wanted to put on Slack, and that's your typical way of, communicating currently, where you go through and you send through a listing presentation, for getting over a new management, and then you just constantly email each other. And who's used to that email trail? And at the end of the day, you have to go and copy all those emails into a folder or delete them, and it just starts to create additional work that you don't need. Now, in the world of Slack, it works a lot different. So this is what Slack looks like in our organisation. You have channels over here on the left-hand side, and essentially you can create channels based on different discussion points, maintenance, rental arrears, and so forth. You could upload a document like what I've done there, and you could comment directly underneath the document, and you could use emojis just to show people, the person that, when Drew uploaded that document, the rest of the team could just hit the like button just to acknowledge that he's viewed it. You have no way of knowing if someone's actually read an email unless you do read receipts, and then that starts becoming, a challenge within itself. The way in which we do this, we run everything through here. This is our dashboard. This is where all your suggestions for Inspection Manager, we've got a suggestion channel somewhere in there. Suggestions just up at the top there. Every single suggestion that you put enters this channel, and on a daily basis we're discussing it and voting it up. That's how we get our next features. So it doesn't go on deaf ears. If that was to send through an email, just the communication method isn't going to be as streamlined. So let me run you through what the biggest challenge that we face as a business. We try our best to educate you guys on the upcoming features. It is extremely important, not just for us, but for all software providers that you use, whether it's REST, Property Me, and so forth. When we do release notes, take the time to browse through them. The releases that we do are the suggestions that you've put forward. You know how many times we get people turn around and say, oh, yeah, oh God, man, we love your product, but we wish you could do this. We're like, you can do that. We release it, we put it on social, we put it on the information part, we sent out an EDM, like we even got account managers to contact and let your department manager know. We've tried everything, but it's really up to the individual, right? Just keep an eye out for release notes. And if you've got someone in your organisation that is, that person that just knows everything about that program, you normally go to them, try and transfer that knowledge amongst each other, because chances are, if that person leaves, then you're kind of stuck, right? So that's always very important. This is actually quite an interesting one. You essentially have bad habits from systems not being used correctly. You adopt a new system and you're so set in the way that you do things, you don't allow the system to flow through the workflow that it has because you want to do it your own way. The chances are they've gone and improved that lap time and all you're doing is just doing it the exact way that you've always been doing it. And the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. You will not become more efficient if you don't try and at least attempt to try and change the way that you do things. Team not aware of all the features available in their systems. Property managers don't have enough free time. I know how hard you guys work. It's part of the reason why I love developing for property managers. The only times I appear at a sales conference, and I don't even get people even like look our way, because salespeople kind of walk into the room like so confident, and property managers are like, please help me, like I need help, because you're really time poor, and I know how demanding tenants are, we've heard the horror stories. So it's important that you try and invest time, even do it at the back of your property management meeting. At least, just get one person to say, hey, we just got the release notes for Rest and they've released these things, watch these videos. Just share that knowledge amongst each other. We have too much tech, systems not integrating with one another, not enough knowledge, changing systems and change management. This is such an important thing. Before you make the switch, and I'm going to tell you a story. We're in Sydney, I can't tell you which agency because you'll know exactly who it is and it won't look good. But an agency had 4,000 managements and they decided to move from Trust Accounting A to Trust Accounting B. For 4,000 managements. After 3 months, they made the switch back. Can you just begin to imagine what kind of challenge that would have been and how much of a distraction it was to the team of roughly around, I think they had 15 to 20 people. Why'd they make the switch? Because it was one person's opinion and someone that felt very strongly about a program that it was a better solution. Was the team consultant? No, they weren't. And that was the end result, is the fact that they made the switch to a different program, created this big distraction in the business, and then made the switch back. Before you make the switch, sometimes contact the software provider and ask them, look, we're not happy. We're giving you guys notice. We need these particular features. The chances are that they could be around the corner. They could be released next month. But then you've gone and it's even happened to us. Right, and I'll talk to you about one of the features towards the end of this. But like, oh, well, we didn't know. We're like, well, we contacted you guys. We let you guys know it was on. It was too late by then. It was too late. So it's very important that you always make sure that before you make the switch, it's the right one. And I know that you guys will sit there and drive, favorites around programs, but just always make sure they're the right ones. So migrating is hard work. Don't try and use the old system like the new system if you do make the switch. Changing to new tech costs money and time, and something that you're very poor of at the moment is time. Important thing to just make sure that you're going to make the switch and not go back, because like I mentioned to you, that particular case. So this is the last one, and I'm going to touch on this in just a moment. There isn't enough for consumers. There isn't enough out there for consumers. Like the renters. The renters don't have a system they potentially live out of. Like if you use something for maintenance, you'll give them that login. If they might use one form, they'll create a profile in there. Now there's digitalized leases, create another profile there. It's just become a very disjointed, fragmented experience. And there should be solutions on site, and there are a few players out there that are starting to play in that space. So these are some pointers that I'll give you guys that we use in our own organisation. Document every process. Have a dedicated team member to become an expert and request training sessions, even at the back of your property management meeting. 5-minute session about a new feature. Find tech that integrates. Remember what I said to you. There's no point in using all these different programs if they don't talk to one another. That's very powerful. Where is your time being wasted? Can tech help? Don't think just because you're doing things in a particular way, we could have still been using Outlook, that there aren't better systems out there, because there are, and look for them, ask for them. You being here today is showing that, you're ahead of your competitors because you're always trying to stay ahead of the game and ahead of time. And keep your ear to the ground for updates from tech providers. When we're talking about integration, we integrate with Rest, Property Tree, FileSmart, Release, Palace, and just about to do Property Me. right now. So now, because I've got a few people in the room, I'm just going to quickly demonstrate just a few new features, because this is another forum for us. We could do Facebook, we could do the notification bar, but just a few things that we've got on the cards just to get you guys a bit excited. And for those that don't use us, we've got a stand over just outside the conference room. So some of the things that we're working on at the moment. So video inspection, we contacted about pretty much all our customers, 2,300 offices. Most people didn't know you can now hit the record button on video, but people go to me, oh, but Alan, we print the reports and send them to the owners. So what? All the owner has to do is pull out the iPhone camera and hover over where the video is meant to be, and the video will start playing with no software needed. That's actually a standard feature within iPhone, and we actually put that. So what happens is when we print them, we put a little QR code and we say, pull out your iPhone and just watch it. How many times have you tried to sit there and communicate to the owner that the air conditioning is making a noise, and he's like, you know, it's just a challenge within itself. You've gone out there during routine, you've taken a video, and then you just shoot it across the owner. That's one way of doing it. Or if the owner is tech savvy, or they like to receive the reports in emails, use our email feature. Our email feature is so beneficial for you guys because it lets you know when the owner views the report. It's not a read receipt. He can never stop you from knowing that he's viewed the report. The moment the report opens, it appears under the log, under that inspection. So if you've got outstanding maintenance or you need to follow up on something, use our email feature. And if you need assistance setting that up, just reach out to our team. So if you're going out there and taking photos and you're noticing all these particular challenges with the property, we thought, why aren't we managing maintenance requests for you guys? So that's on the cards, and that's something that's about to get introduced shortly. So we're going to make it very seamless and easy for you guys to sit there and receive maintenance requests, whether it's through the tenant or you going out doing an inspection, you've come across and said, is this area satisfactory? No. And then it says, do you want to do something about it? And then you could use the photos and videos to send across to a tradesperson, and he could quote it without having to constantly go out and back and forth and so forth, because there's limited information. We're doing it completely different to anyone else out there. We're making sure that we look after all the insurances and the public liability. It's all verified. All tradespeople will be verified on there. We're going to give you guys transparency to let you know when the tradies are on their way, and we've got a really good system on the way. But that's us about sitting there closing the loop and minimising the number of systems that they use. Yes? Where you'll start to notice that it's going to be in stages. So next month, we're going to ask you to put your basic tradies in there, and then it's on the cards for this year. So
you manage the whole process from beginning to end.
Absolutely. Because we've already got the data anyway. You know how you adopt these maintenance systems and you have to go and put the properties and the layouts and all that sort of stuff. We've got that. We've got all that historical data for you guys. So we're going to make that part quite seamless for you. Then this is the most exciting one. This is one that we've lost a few customers on this one. And I say that simply because, you know, it was hard for us to get this to this particular product, because for those that used our product many years ago, we used to open up the reports in PDF, and it's very hard to go paperless in PDF. So we transformed them to like web pages right now, and that's why it's got all your branding and things like that. Now that we've got our reports to where we need them to be, people no longer want to print them and hand them to tenants anymore. They want them to go paperless. And this is the next revolution. I'm going to show you a quick video on this.
When you're trying to get new tenants into a property, it's easy to get buried in paperwork. We already digitised your inspections. Now let us digitise your reports and more. With our new paperless handover system, your tenants can receive customised welcome packs, sign for their keys, view emergency contacts, and receive and sign their inspections with a few taps of the button. Once they've signed online, a copy is automatically sent back to you and filed away, while they can keep their copies online along with any other information you want to provide, like general advice or emergency contacts, leaving you to focus on what you do best.
So we're hoping to release this next month, as in, what day is it now? Yeah, so it's not that far away. We're going to be going into beta, and our core focus is, just like I showed you that previous circle of the processes and all those applications, we just sat there and looked at it. We're right in the heart of what you do. So we're not at leases, we're not at maintenance, we're right in the middle. And we thought we're going to build out our product suite in both directions. So that you don't need to go get multiple subscriptions and pay multiple fees and so forth. Where things like maintenance, where it's not going to come at a cost. Paperless, it's not going to come at a cost. We don't want to be seen as one of those software providers that are constantly trying to increase, introduce new features and say, hey, this is a new feature, give us more money kind of things. We want to make sure that you can go to your bosses and very easily say, hey, look, we're not using Inspection Manager, but this is all the value it offers, or we are using Inspection Manager and we're really happy because, they're listening to us and they're helping us become more efficient in our day, which is buying us more time for more productive things. So this is the part that I've talked about earlier, where I said that the too much tech and there isn't something consumer facing at the moment. We're kind of lacking in that part, and I use the term consumer, I'm referring to the renter. That's very important to us, and this is a part that we're trying to sit there and tackle right away. But we're trying to tackle it not as the Inspection Manager brand. What we're about to embark on is a brand new interface that is going to allow a renter, from the moment they sign a lease, they walk through a process in a completely agnostic universal platform called Property Space. So why have we chose a company like Property Space? Because one of the challenges that you face, especially when going with a company that does everything, is you're stuck with that organization to use the complete product suites. See, by doing Property Space, we'll take the inspection tile and the maintenance. You might want to integrate leases, a different leasing platform, because you're comfortable with that. Property Space will allow you to do that. What we're trying to do, we're trying to unleash into the renter space a universal platform that just allows renters to sit there and go through a process, commit to part of the process, not have to constantly wait on every part every part from a property manager, steps that they need to do. I'll give you a perfect example. This is one of the problems Property Safe is going to resolve. We're going to go digitalize leases. Now, what's the typical process of a lease? You find that successful applicant, the owner accepts and says, yes, proceed with this person. What do? You email them and say, can you pay your 2 weeks deposit, holding deposit? They pay that 2 weeks and they expect you to be mind readers. Oh, I paid it. Have you, so you could sit there and generate the lease. The chances are you're not mind readers and you're asking for the receipt. And then they say to you something like, I don't know how to do that. And it's just this back and forth. So with something like this, they'll sit there and pay the bond, they'll pay the 2 weeks, and you'll just get notified on an interface. You don't need to sit there and go back and forth. And we're going to be offering that completely free to all the agencies that are using Inspection Manager at no cost. Because we don't want there to be any barriers of entry for you to sit there and constantly go and adopt new technology to sit there and make your life easier. Once we know that they're about to move into a particular property, we can now go digitize their inspections as well. We no longer have to sit there and wait for them to sit there and fill it out. And who has tenants that write issues and then expect it to be a maintenance request from an ingoing report, right? And you're like, look, I've received 30 of these, I filed it away, and no, if you have an issue with maintenance, follow these steps. Well, in this interface, we'll look after that for them and just make it very seamless. We'll allow them to take videos and photos for your records in a digital format, allow them to put comments on there, and just make your life a whole lot easier. Not have to sit there and go spend all this time digitizing a report, then get a manual piece of paper sitting on someone's desk and they forgot to file it and you've lost that copy and then you're in dispute with the tenant. So we're closing the loop for that. And then most importantly, once we've gone and we've got them committed to the, they've done their lease, they've done the inspection, well, we can encourage them to go through and they've got that single place for maintenance requests. Typical tenant, Friday, my tap is leaking. That's all they write to you. Expect you to be mind readers, know what property, what tap, what room, can you send for... This will guide them through to every part of the process. It will say things like, can you please use videos and video to outline the extent of the issue and take as many as you need, and we'll walk them through. Oh, your PowerPoint's not working. Have you paid your electricity bill? Let's start with the basics. We see the horror stories of tenant, and it's up to us as tech providers to sit there and try and make sure that we zone in on those areas and provide the most efficient ways of doing things to better help you go about your day without these tedious tasks and, this back and forth with tenants. So, guys, look, got 2 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions or would like to know anything I've demonstrated today? Thank you very much for your time today. Yep, go ahead. Sorry? Yes, that will most certainly be. And by the way, I've only showed you a glimpse of what Property Space is going to do. It's going to help them. We've just brought on Optus as a provider, and we're working with electricity companies. We're going to have all their bills appear on there and allow them to split bills. We want them to have constant engagement within the app, because the moment there's a maintenance issue, we don't want them to email you, what's my login and password? You know what I mean? They're already working within the app, so it makes it. We want to minimise the number of requests, and the landlord would most certainly be in that space as well. They'll be able to see multiple properties and get a snapshot view. And here's the best thing about this. If you change trust accounting software, we will be plugging all that information from, REST or PropertyMe or Property Tree onto these interfaces that you don't need to contact all these tenants and change everything with them as well, because we've gone and created this universal interface that no one's gone and done yet. We've seen what Managed are doing in our property and a number of different people. They're very much all about living in their ecosystem, whereas we're all about living in your ecosystem and plugging it into whatever programs that you're using within your organisation. Yes?
Payment system in there as well?
That's on the way. Hey, who are you working for? Yeah, so absolutely, yes. I've been living in property for 6 years, right? And they just got direct debit. Like, it's just this process, and we're not just going to do single payment system, we're going to allow multiple tenants to do bill splitting and just allow reconciling a lot easier and a whole range of things. Because we've got 2,300 agencies that we're working with, we are constantly listening and going and sitting down with them and say, how can we improve what you're doing? Not just in Inspection Manager, on all parts of the business. But yes, that's most certainly on the way. Yes? Yes, I know. I'm completely across our property. Managed are doing this, our property are doing this. Everyone's heading in this space. And you know what? That's a great sign, because it just comes to show that the days of 20 apps on a screen, they're on their way out, and people are looking for complete systems rather than individual products and features. Thank you so much for having me here today. And yeah, any questions? I'll be out the back. Thank you.